WWE just gave us one of the most chaotic and unhinged brawls we've seen on SmackDown in years, and if you missed the absolute carnage that went down on the 13th of February, you missed a segment that has people either calling it a masterclass in controlled chaos or a complete mess that exposed some serious problems with how WWE books multi-person confrontations. The Motor City Machine Guns found themselves in an all-out war with Carmelo Hayes, Ilja Dragunov, and a cast of characters that turned SmackDown into an absolute warzone. And here's what has me absolutely fired up: this brawl either set up the most exciting tag team division storyline we've had in years, or it was a disorganized cluster that made everyone involved look sloppy and directionless. Before we break down every wild moment of this insane brawl and what it means for everyone involved, I need to know, did this chaotic brawl make you more excited about SmackDown's tag division, or did it feel like too many bodies with no clear direction? Drop your honest take in the comments, because this segment is dividing fans. Let me set the stage, because the context of how this brawl erupted is crucial to understanding why it spiraled so out of control. The Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, had a match scheduled against Pretty Deadly earlier in the night. Standard tag team match, nothing particularly high stakes, just two teams trying to build momentum in SmackDown's increasingly competitive tag division. But here's where things started getting spicy. Before the match could even start, Carmelo Hayes came out and interrupted. Now, Carmelo has been on an absolute tear lately as a singles competitor, but apparently he's got issues with the Machine Guns from their time working together on the independent scene. Old grudges, old rivalries, the kind of history that makes for compelling television when done right. Quick trivia question: how many times have the Motor City Machine Guns won tag team gold in major promotions throughout their career? First person to get close to the right number gets pinned. Carmelo gets on the mic and starts cutting this promo about how the Machine Guns think they are hot stuff coming into WWE with all their accolades and their reputation, but in his ring, on his show, they are nothing special. It's standard I'm better than you heel stuff, but Carmelo was selling it. The crowd was eating it up, the Machine Guns were getting heated, and you could feel the tension building. Then, and this is where it gets really interesting, Ilja Dragunov's music hits. The crowd loses it because Dragunov has been one of the most intense, most unpredictable performers on the roster, and nobody knew why he was coming out. Was he there to back up Carmelo? Challenge the Machine Guns, start his own thing? Turns out, Dragunov had his own beef. He gets in the ring and starts talking about how he's tired of watching people talk when they should be fighting, how SmackDown has become a place where people run their mouths instead of proving themselves in combat, and how all of them, Carmelo, the Machine Guns, Pretty Deadly, everyone, need to shut up and fight. Question for you: do you prefer when WWE clearly defines who's face and who's heel, or do you like this kind of chaotic, everyone's got their own agenda booking? Let me know your philosophy at this point. You've got 4 separate entities in and around the ring. 1. The Motor City Machine Guns faces, technically. 2. Pretty Deadly heels, supposed to be in a match. 3. Carmelo Hayes tweener heel with a grudge. 4. Ilja Dragunov chaotic neutral, just wants violence, and that's when all hell broke loose. I'm not even sure who threw the first punch, but suddenly everyone is fighting everyone. Shelley and Sabin are brawling with Pretty Deadly. Carmelo is going after both Machine Guns. Dragunov is just hitting whoever gets close to him. Referees are trying to restore order but getting absolutely ignored. Security hits the ring and gets tossed aside like they are nothing. The brawl spills to the outside, and this is where it gets really wild. They are fighting through the crowd, they are fighting up the ramp, they are fighting backstage. The camera is trying to keep up, but it's chaos. You've got multiple camera angles cutting between different parts of the brawl, and it genuinely feels like WWE has lost control of their own show. Here's where it gets controversial: more people start getting involved. DIY Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa show up backstage and start brawling with Pretty Deadly. The Street Profits appear and get into it with Carmelo Hayes. Baron Corbin randomly shows up and starts throwing people around because apparently he just likes chaos. At one point, and I'm not making this up, there are 12 people actively brawling in different parts of the arena, and the commentary team is struggling to keep up with who's fighting who and why. Quick question: when a brawl gets this chaotic with this many people, does it enhance the excitement or does it become too confusing to follow? Be honest in your assessment. The segment goes on for almost 15 minutes of just pure, unfiltered chaos. They are fighting in catering, in the parking lot, back in the arena, through the concourse, it's everywhere. And the whole time, you're watching and thinking either this is the most exciting thing I've seen in weeks or this is a complete mess with no structure or purpose. Eventually, and I mean eventually, WWE officials and security managed to separate everyone. But here's the thing, there's no real resolution. Nobody clearly won. Nobody made a definitive statement. It just ended because they ran out of time and needed to move on to the next segment. Now let's talk about why this segment is so divisive and what it means for everyone involved. The case for this Brawl: people who loved this segment are making some valid points. First, it felt real and unpredictable. So much of WWE's programming feels overly scripted and choreographed, but this had an energy that was genuinely chaotic and exciting. Second, it got everyone involved screen time and made them all look aggressive and dangerous. Third, it sets up multiple potential feuds and storylines going forward. You could book matches from this Brawl for weeks. From a pure entertainment standpoint, watching talented wrestlers just go at it with no restrictions or limitations can be incredibly fun. The segment had momentum, it had energy, and it had people talking. Those are all positives. The case against this Brawl: on the flip side, critics of this segment are also making valid points. The biggest complaint is that it was too chaotic with no clear narrative. Who are we supposed to be rooting for? What's the story being told? Why are all these people involved when you have 12 people brawling and nobody clearly comes out on top? What's the point? There's also the concern that this kind of booking devalues everyone involved. When everyone is in a big brawl and nobody stands out, nobody looks special, it becomes white noise. Compare this to a well-built one-on-one confrontation where you know exactly who the protagonist and antagonist are and what they are fighting for. What's your take on big multi-person brawls? Do they elevate everyone involved or do they make everyone blend together? Sound off below. Let me give you my honest take on this whole situation. I think the intention behind this segment was good, but the execution was messy. WWE clearly wanted to create a big, chaotic moment that would get people talking and set up multiple storylines. And to their credit, they achieved the getting people talking part. But I'm not convinced they achieved the set up multiple storylines part in a coherent way. Here's my concern: when you have this many people involved in a brawl with no clear winner or definitive moment, you haven't actually built anything. You've created chaos, which is exciting in the moment, but what comes next? Do all 12 of these people now have feuds with each other? Do we get a massive multi-team match? Do some of these people just never interact again and we're all supposed to forget they were brawling? The other issue is focus. The Motor City Machine Guns should theoretically be the focal point since this started with their match, but they got lost in the shuffle. Carmelo Hayes came out with a purpose but then just became one of many people punching. Ilja Dragunov made a statement but then also just became part of the chaos. Nobody really benefited from this in a meaningful way. Question for the fantasy bookers: if you were writing the follow-up to this brawl, how would you structure the next few weeks? Give me your booking. Let's talk about what this segment means for the individuals and teams involved. The Motor City Machine Guns, they are supposed to be building momentum as one of the premier tag teams in WWE. But in this segment they were just two more guys in a crowd. That's not necessarily bad, but it's not helping establish them as special either. Carmelo Hayes, he started the segment with clear motivation and purpose, which is great. But he needs a follow-up that gives him an actual storyline out of this, not just, I was in a big brawl one time. Ilja Dragunov, his character of I just want to fight everyone is compelling, but it needs direction. Fighting for the sake of fighting only works for so long before you need actual stakes and stories. Pretty Deadly, DIY, Street Profits, etc. they all got involvement, which gives them something to do, but none of them had a moment that made them stand out from the pack. Here's a question that cuts to the heart of this: should WWE focus on fewer people and tell clearer stories, or do you appreciate when they try to get as many people on TV as possible even if it means less focus per person? One thing I will say in defense of this segment: it felt different. WWE has been criticized for being too formulaic, too predictable, too safe. This segment was none of those things. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and definitely not safe. Sometimes you need to shake things up and try something different, even if it doesn't perfectly land. The production was also impressive in its own way. Keeping track of 12 people brawling in different locations with different camera crews and making it all mostly coherent is no small feat. The camera work was frenetic but captured the chaos effectively. I also appreciate that WWE is investing in their tag team division, even if the execution here was questionable. For too long, tag teams have been an afterthought. Segments like this, even with their flaws, show that WWE is at least trying to make tag team wrestling feel important again. Final question, and I want everyone to answer: on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this Brawl segment? And more importantly, did it make you want to tune in next week to see the fallout? Look, at the end of the day, wrestling is about creating moments that people remember and talk about. This brawl definitely achieved that. Whether people remember it as that awesome chaotic brawl or that messy segment with too many people remains to be seen, but they will remember it. What WWE needs to do now is capitalize on this moment. They created chaos, great. Now they need to turn that chaos into compelling stories. Give us clear feuds with clear stakes. Give us matches that feel like they matter because of what happened in this brawl. Don't just do chaos for chaos's sake and then move on like nothing happened. If you're as divided about this segment as I am, I need you to engage with this video. Like if you love the chaotic energy of this brawl, dislike if you think it was too messy and unfocused, and absolutely flood the comments with your takes on who should feud with who coming out of this, your thoughts on how WWE should book the tag division, and your rating of the segment. This is Wrestling Zone 1, where we break down the segments that get people talking and aren't afraid to explore both sides of controversial moments. The Motor City Machine Guns brawling with Carmelo Hayes, Ilja Dragunov, and half the roster is going to be remembered as either exciting chaos or messy booking depending on how WWE follows it up. Subscribe for more analysis of wrestling's most controversial moments, and let's see if WWE can turn this chaos into compelling television.